a little confusing. My name is Ashley Van Busick. I am a postdoc. I'm working for Griselda Gonzalez, but so I'm pretty new to the project, so I can't say I really know what this all is about. She told me to attend this meeting, and I'm a little confused. So
no worries.
Maybe you'll fill me in.
Why don't we jump over to Alain, unless Michelle's back. We'll go to Michelle last.
Good, yeah. Thanks for correcting the last name. I'm a co-PI on the project. I'm here at University of Pennsylvania, working primarily on the soils in the CZO.
And also here is Jane Willenbring, and I am an investigator on this LCZO project, and we've collected a lot of data on cosmogenic nuclide measurements in soils, and also dug a lot of pits and have a lot of, I guess, field measurements.
Super. Is Michelle back?
I'm back here. Yeah, I just spoke with Bill. He's calling in now from home. Okay.
Super. You want to introduce yourself and tell us your role in managing or using data within the CZO?
Sure. I am a research scientist at the University of New Hampshire, and I work in Bill McDowell's group. And my role in the CZO is really to help with the reporting and the project management, the budget management, and that sort of capacity. So I don't have any direct linkages to research or using the data products, but our group is involved with the stream sensors and, managing those and feeding those data in. So other folks in our group definitely do.
Super. All right, we'll wait for Bill. I'm Anthony Offenkamp, the lead PI of the CZO data team and kind of the coordinator of activities. But as I said, a lot of the work's being done by others. The contributions that I've primarily had to the products are through the conceptualization efforts behind the ODM2 model. I was one of the contributors there, and the Yota file specification to replace display files, and then also to the ODM2 vocabularies. So, Jeff.
Hi, this is Jeff Horsborough from Utah State University, Civil and Environmental Engineering, and pretty much all the stuff that Anthony just said, I worked on all that stuff too. I led the ODM2 group in developing ODM2, and also worked for quite a long time on the Quasi-Hydrologic Information System project, so that's kind of where the roots of all of this came for me. So,
Kirsten.
Oh, sorry, can you hear me? I was muted.
Yeah.
I'm Kirsten Nehnert. Have been part of the CZO data team from the beginning. I'm the director of the Interdisciplinary Earth Data Alliance, which is a data facility that NSF funds out of the ocean sciences, earth sciences, and polar sciences, focused on solid earth data. And the particular role that we have in the CZO data is to provide data services for geochemical data and for samples.
Megan.
Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Carter. I work at IETA, the facility that Kirsten just described to you. I work primarily with CSAR, the System for Earth Sample Registration, where you can obtain IGSNs for your sites and specimens. I can also help you register your geochemical data sets in the EarthChem library, publish your data sets, I should say, and obtain DOIs to use in your publications. I am a geochemist by training. I came out of a lab at Penn State, very involved in CZOs, and I've actually been to Luquillo. What a cool place.
Yeah, really.
Perfect. Yeah, Kristen and I were there too a year ago. David.
Hi, I'm David.
3 years ago.
3 years. David Valentine. I work at the San Diego Supercomputer Center. I'm responsible right now for information models and catalogs, and we're working on the web services backends for the ODM services and also for the CZO data. And my two colleagues can't be here today because they've got another talk, but Ilya Zaslavsky and Tom Whiteneck send their regrets.
Thank you, David. Emilio.
Hi, I'm Emilio Mayorga. I'm at the University of Washington Applied Physics Lab in Seattle, so way far from Puerto Rico. My responsibility within the CZO data team is the data visualization portal, but I've also been part of the ODM2 team, and I am an aquatic biogeochemist by training in rivers and streams, and I can also say that I've been to Luquillo, or at least Yota National Park 20 years ago, and I look forward to being there again.
Great. And the last person, Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Damiano. I work at the Stroudwater Research Center under Anthony, and so I've pretty much done similar things to Anthony. Worked on ODM2 with the Yota files and the Excel templates I've been working on to create them.
Excellent. Has Bill joined us?
Yep.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, Anthony.
We were just all introducing ourselves, and then we're going to get going with Miguel's presentation.
Okay.
You want to introduce yourselves and your interest or your role in managing data here?
Sure. So I'm Bill McDowell, PI of the Luquillo CZO, and so I try to keep track of everything we're doing.
All right. So thanks all for joining, and I'm going to pass on the presenter ball to Miguel, and Miguel is going to go through a presentation that kind of describes the Luquillo CZO approaches to data management and tries to answer some of our questions, and then we'll ask additional questions and then have our follow-up. Bill, we are all looking, or we're looking at a Google Doc that's kind of serving as an agenda and notes file that we want as a living document. So the link should be in the email and also in the chat box for WebEx. Miguel, I just passed you the presenter ball. Go to the quick start menu at the top of your WebEx window, top left. And in the middle of that view, there's a share screen button. Click on that.
All right.
Perfect.
Okay, I'll go ahead and get started then. So this is Miguel Leon, Luquillo CZO Data Manager. I'm going to talk about some of our existing systems, some data streams and sampling, as well as a new data website we've been working on, and as well as some other uses for some of our tools and some suggestions. So our existing live data website is at the following link, sas.upenn.edu/lczodata. It allows a user to specify metadata about their data, as well as it generates the display files from CZO1. And it's a Drupal-based system. So one of the reasons we're excited about our new data system is we can really have proper relational database for our data versus the Drupal system. It's very difficult to populate any data other than metadata into a Drupal-based system. And so with the current site, everything is just stored as CSV files, and then data sets are linked onto criticalzone.org. We also have a GIS application that's at the following address here. We're also hoping to subsume some of that into our new site at some point in the future as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the data we're collecting. One of our projects is an intensively monitored hill slope. We have 30 soil oxygen sensors and 30 soil moisture and temperature sensors, along with continuous measurements of soil greenhouse gases, the 9 automated chambers for CO2, methane, and NO2 fluxes. We also have ground and stream water site chemistry, several stream and groundwater sites for conductivity, dissolved oxygen, and water level. Groundwater sites, we have 4 groundwater sites with those same parameters, as well as oxidation reduction potential, pH, nitrate, and ammonia. And we have a new stream monitoring site that's coming online. This one with a nitrate sensor, a multi-probe that records a variety of different parameters, including FDOM, turbidity. We're hoping to get that one hooked up with a cell phone modem so we can get a live stream into our new database. But that's still a work in progress. We've done a great deal of soils sampling, including 216 profiles representing 24 sites in El Yunque. Those sites are in CZO, so that's one linkage we have with that. We have another study that collected 149 samples at 15 sites and looked at soil carbon, texture, and many attributes for iron and aluminum. And we have those data now in our ODM2 database. So, and other data streams include 4 weather stations managed by the U.S. Forest Service and the University of Puerto Rico, 10 gauge streams managed by USGS, U.S. Forest Service, and LCZO, a cheliometer, cloud forest measurements for African dust inputs, cloud water precipitation, visibility, stream water chemistry for 10 sites for over 30 years, geophysical surveys with ground penetrating radar, terrain conductivity, electrical resistivity imaging as well. That's, yeah, and so my next topic then will be our new data management application, which we're calling ODM2 Admin at this time. I sent around a link to you guys previously, but it's up on GitHub. So the new site is online at lczodata.com/ODM2. We have an ODM2 database in Postgres SQL, which it's based off of. So the site right now is totally behind logins. We'd like to create some kind of front end that could be publicly available at some point, though. The application is based off of the Django web platform, which has a Python backend. PostgreSQL database has PostGIS installed, which right now we're just using. You can just specify a sampling feature location with a latitude and a longitude. But we'd like to expand on that some and get some other features going as well. And then we have some pretty cool charting that we've done with high charts. We'll take a look at that in the application as well, but here's a little example down here. And then, yeah, so we've, in the past month, maybe 6 weeks, been loading data into our ODM2 database, and so far we're have over 176 variables being collected by 30 sensors with over 1.6 million data values. We have 408 soil profile results in the system, as well as we just started loading in some derived products from water chemistry results. Yeah, and so a little bit more about the derived products. Those are a product of LoadFlex, which is another tool we've developed. It can be used for flux and concentration estimation. So it basically takes a variety of approaches to doing flux or concentration estimates and packages them up into a single R package. So those would include interpolations, regressions. So you can use RLoadEst, which is an R version of LoadEst, which is software from the USGS. And we've also created the first open source implementation of the composite method, which is a method that was proposed by Allenbach and Hooper in 2006. And LoadFlex is also available on GitHub. Some advantages of our ODM2 admin app. It's working on smartphones. We can enter smartphones and tablets. We can enter maintenance, calibration, data collection events. So we have our field tech starting to enter when he goes and does any instrument maintenance or calibrations or data collections. We're also working on collecting more information about sampling, subsampling, multi-step lab procedures, as well as other things. Another important feature of the application is the ability to import and export data. You can upload a data logger file, which then you can associate data logger file columns to a data logger file. And then you can go ahead and process the data logger file. So assuming that you've correctly set up your data logger file columns, you can specify that your data begin on a certain row and specify a row that your column headers are on. And assuming the column headers match the data logger file columns, it will load the data into the database. So let's say there's a mismatch, like you forgot to document one of your columns. It's going to tell you it couldn't find this column. Let's say the data didn't actually begin on the row you said, and it's reading something else. It's going to tell you so we've tried to make some user-friendly errors for what might be going wrong if this isn't set up correctly. So data in ODM2. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the application so we can take a look at some of this. So for instance, here we have, so this is our application here is CZOData.com/ODM2. To start out with, this is the home page. We have a series of different entities in here that you can add things to, change lists. And then if we go to Graph My Data, that will take us over to these graphs. And you can go through here, select different parameters. So if we say this right now, this one is doing DO concentration. If we go, instead we want to look at conductivity. You can select those and go down here and hit update chart. And it's going to come back with the charts. Yeah. So we load in all the data values. You can click on one of the series, and it will remove that series from the chart and change the y-axis. That's pretty cool. You can hover over the individual values. You can hover over the series, and it highlights it. Yeah, and you can change the date range. And you can also export the data. This will take whatever data you're looking at in the chart and send it out to a CSV file so you can take a closer look at it. Then coming back to the idea of some derived products, here we've got some flux estimates for nitrate on the Sonodora River. And we've got, basically, these are annual kilograms per hectare per year. So just to show you some of the different kind of data that are in here. Yeah. So I'll go back to the presentation now. Let me also just show you a little bit about the soil profile data. I'm working on creating some more charting for this data as well, but it's not quite ready yet. So just if we look at the soil profile data, we can see we have, these are 0 to 10 centimeter soil aggregates. So we're using your Z location and a Z aggregation interval. We have a variety of results for those. Yeah, and another thing here is you can also, from these lists, you can export the values then to a variety of different formats. So if you select all these data and you just hit export and go, and it'll send it to a CSV file or whatever format you pick. Yeah, so go back here. Let's go back to the presentation now. Yeah, so those soils data include carbon texture, iron, aluminum, and then we also have soil moisture sensors, 18 soil moisture sensors in another copy of ODM2. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So data coming soon to ODM2 admin. We're going to be working on getting the hill slope data into the system, stream chemistry data from sampling, the near real-time data stream from water chemistry sensors that I was mentioned earlier, more soils data, and more derived stream chemistry data from LoadFlex. So this application is built around ODM2 core. All of the 16 entities in ODM2 core are modeled into the system, as well as 14 additional entities. We're kind of just adding them in as needed with the data that we're trying to add in. So for example, I recently added in, based on the soils data, I added in some citation management features. So there's a variety of methods related to this particular paper that this data was a part of. So yeah, we added the ability to add citations for data sets, methods, and add authors to citations. So that brings up another topic about how the site's organized. We've created a series of workflows that are the shortcut icons across the top. So, from the home page, there's a really long list of different things you could add or change. But really, like, you just, you come into the system, you're just interested in recording an action. So you just go to that shortcut, and then you just get a much smaller list of things to do that are relevant to the the workflow that you're trying to perform. Go back to the presentation now. And yeah, so just an example of a Django model. This is the action by model, which corresponds to the action by entity from ODM2 core. Great thing about Django is you can have it run an inspectdb command, and it will look at your database and create these models for you, which really helps to get this started. But then you do have to specify quite a few things in your model to really get it working, such as returning a string related to what your model should call itself, and verbose names that are user-friendly, and those sorts of things. So tools, the plots are completely dynamic. After you add a new data series into the system, it can be immediately plotted. Django packages are easy to use. There was a Django package for styles that I installed that made it usable with mobile devices pretty much out of the box, so that was really nice. We've also installed one for the shortcuts, which made adding in the shortcuts really easy to use. And then we're hoping to rely on tools from you guys for the generation of Yota files. So we can talk about that some more. Next, the idea that others, we're hoping we can get some more people using this system. We've actually set up another copy of the application for Trace, and I was hoping Tana Wood, PI with Trace, would be on the call. I'm not sure if she is, but they're another project in Luquillo that they're doing the first field warming experiment in the tropics with 4 degrees C warming on a 16 square meter plot where they have 16 O2 temperature and soil moisture probes in the plot, and those are linked into this separate copy of ODM2 admin that we've created for them. And yeah, we'd be interested in talking some more about possibly adding this into the Big CZ toolbox, which Anthony had mentioned in an email. Yeah, and so there's lots more things we're hoping to do with this. There's 132 entities described by ODM2, and we're currently using 30 of those. Yeah, the site's functional, but still in development, so it requires a login. We're hoping to build in some QA processing in the system, as well as additional GIS features, and design additional workflows, such as the add sensor data and manage citations that we looked at, and then work on creating a public-facing view of the data. Yeah, and so my last slide here, I just, working with ODM2, I've had a couple of suggestions I wanted to make. I've been recently looking at the provenance part of ODM2, and it seems that a related methods table would be useful. That way methods could have a hierarchy and multiple steps. And the other thing would be the profile results. So profile result values have an aggregation interval and an aggregation unit. Seems like profile results should really also have an intended aggregation interval and intended aggregation units. as you could say, plan to sample 10 to 20 centimeters, but you hit bedrock at 15 centimeters, so what you actually collect in the field is, 10 to 15 centimeters, so your profile result values could be different from your intended aggregation. So yeah, so just 2 suggestions about ODM2, and that's all the slides I had for today.
Thank you, Miguel. That's awesome. Any questions? Our team has been looking forward to actually seeing the demo of what you've developed on ODM2. It's kind of exciting for us.
Great.
Because
yeah.
that was the intent of all of our hard work on ODM2, was to enable things like what you just did. Any questions
Miguel,
from anybody?
This is Jeff. I'd just like to say cool stuff. I mean, it's cool to see this stuff taking shape.
Great.
Emilio here, just echoing how fantastic that is.
All right, I just changed screen sharing to me. I'm kind of interested in hearing from some of the Luquillo CZO PIs to just if you if some of what Miguel's doing is was new to you, or what your thoughts are on where that might help you with your own work, because what's really exciting for us and our team is that there was no conceptual framework for integrating things like soil and sensor data in a data system before. But clearly, CZO researchers have are collecting both types of data, and I'm just wondering if so we developed the ODM2 information model first conceptually, and then actually a whole software stack. But it was a behind the hood software stack that didn't yet have a user interface, and so Miguel jumped right on that as we were still in beta versions and started doing that. I'm wondering if you've realized the potential for that, or understood where you might want to go with what Miguel just presented to us.
Well, let me start in first on that as the PI, is that all of these things that Miguel is working on, of course, are directly in support of where we're trying to go scientifically. So if we look at the data product, the load flex, that was a paper, it was a collaborative paper that really was designed, I knew what questions I wanted to answer, and I didn't know technically how to do it. So worked with the other authors of that paper to devise the implementation of the composite method, because I thought it was far and away the best approach to deal with our long-term CZO/LTER data sets. So driven entirely by trying to characterize our site in a useful and what I'd say is that, my best guess of what's the most effective way and the most appropriate way to deal with the data, which have these strong, for some solutes, have this very strong variation over time that's not driven by things that like seasonality or some simple monotonic trend that load est is good at. So the load flex with the composite does that better.
Yeah.
So that's one sort of driver, and we look for, that was their sort of first foray into an actual workflow / data project, I guess, that really built some high-end calculations as into what it was trying to accomplish. And then on the other end, of course, we have these sensors, and we have various approaches at UNH that we're using, and now developing the sensor ability to look at our sensor data and manipulate it, and I used it on the fly to make a little graph for talk, so I can verify that PIs are able to use this stuff because I did it.
Super.
So it's a nice way to give us not publication quality, but definitely presentation quality, flexible presentation quality display of the data that we can use for QA/QC, that we can use for talks, that we can use for, thinking about what our data really show. And so that's one of the things. So it's really a QA/QC / visualization tool for the sort of, they're kind of flat data streams. I mean, they're just values, over time. But we want to line them up over time or line them up over space, like multiple sites over the same time period. So we either look at stuff on the time axis or on the space axis. So, and then I guess the third is more of the archival sort of approach, which is that there are samples that are relatively static, like soils that have been taken. They come from a spot. You can't go back and repeatedly sample that exact spot, of course, because you took the soil away. And so by definition, they're different, that they represent, something that's done and you analyze, and it's a static entity, and now you want to be able to have access to it for whatever further analysis or reporting you might want to do. And I was pleased to see that Miguel had added in the when he added in the the citation feature and all that. So I think that'll make the data that much more useful for the broader user community out there, because it allows the data to be linked up to the publication, and then the data can be used in other contexts, but at least you know clearly what the author thought about the data because it's in the paper that was written. So we're going to continue to pursue the variations on these things, incoming sort of almost live data streams with the sensors, the one-by-one projects that don't represent an ongoing planned incoming data. Periodically new data or new projects will be formed and will come in and maybe use similar format. And then these sort of what I'll call high-end data products that really do a whole lot of work to generate some final derived quantity, like the best estimate and the error bar around that best estimate for a flux over a year out of a watershed. So maybe something else I've missed, but I think those are three big categories that we can think of as we go forward with the data management. And so I'm really excited about the ability to deal with sensors streams and the ability and the big data, the big workflows for high-end data manipulation, because those represent new capabilities that we did not have until we started working with the CZO. We being, my lab and my collaborators, we haven't had that until until working with the CZO data. So that's a real plus for us with the CZO project.
I'd just like to interject something, Miguel again. I think we can think about some other ways to also visualize the data with GIS and things that could, present something like some of the soils data in other interesting ways.
Yeah, and I could see, that's a good point, Miguel, and I could see that would represent a fourth category. I mean, the sensor data streams are, they're from different places, but they're primarily time series. And then to get a nuanced view spatially it could be the fourth kind of data. The fourth type of data and set and data product is to be able to, and the trick in there, the added value and the added difficulty is to be able to combine those data sets as much as possible across space and get some derived values, which it's a real question as to whether that's best done within the data management system or whether that's best done with existing, commercial software like the Esri software. So.
Mm-hmm. I've got some thoughts on that. Anybody else want to respond to that from Bill? I guess I'll jump in. I think, first of all, kudos to Miguel for really embracing what we were trying to do with ODM2, but also kudos to you all, to Bill, Elaine, Jane, and others at Luquillo CZO, the other investigators who basically put the resources and encouragement to Miguel to move forward with this. The vision of what you are, this wasn't mentioned explicitly, but it seems like this LoadFlex tool in R, is developed somewhat independently of this ODM2 package. But what I'm seeing is that essentially those two, there's a vision by you all that those two would work hand in hand. And indeed, the whole point of what we've been trying to do at CZOData is to allow this type of data point by data point data integration, or what we would call granular data integration. So it's not just, you're looking up CSV files and finding out who's got what CSV file, but actually doing something with the actual data, this higher level data integration. That's the whole point of ODM2. And you guys, Miguel saw what we were doing and embraced it early enough that you've already are jumping into that arena. So it's exciting. And I think that our team can imagine collaborating with you all on that. So that's one aspect of what the CZOData project has done. We put a lot of energy into ODM2 because we felt it's very fundamental. But there are these kind of higher level recommendations for data sharing. It was not the scope of the CZOData project to ever store data values, or to act as a primary database for data CZOs, or to actually enforce any type of local data management approach. We were more or less explicitly told that we can't do either of those things. So what we've been doing is trying to build standards and protocols so that CZOs could share data in a way that allows cross-CZO integration and essentially integration by the public. So we recently, I think some of you have seen some of the presentations about the products that we've been producing, and we recently put together a series of guidelines on our website for how to submit CZO data. And so I'm wondering if it seems like we're moving on to this portion of our conversation, and we really want you all to look at this. And I see that Miguel probably typed in that yes and no, meaning yes, he's looked at it, and no, he doesn't need any further explanation. But I think it's relatively important that the PIs understand what the CZOData project is recommending, and what the expectations are of CZOs. It gives an idea of what we have to offer, and also, frankly, what NSF will be looking for in terms of data sharing. So, Bill, Elaine, Jane, have you looked over this new website in the last 3 weeks since we released it?
I have not, no.
Mm-hmm. No, I haven't either. I mean, I'm familiar with our existing.
I did send out some of the text in an email to the whole group.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I did see that. Then it's not surprising. It fits with what we understood to be the data policy with our cooperative agreement and our.
Mm-hmm. Would it be helpful to do a relatively quick overview? And I'm not going to go into details because a lot of it's written, but just kind of a high-level overview.
That'd be great.
Sure, for a few minutes, I think that'd be fine.
Sure. So under the CZOData tab, we used to have a page that kind of gave general guidelines about what we expected, but we expanded this tab into from 1 page to 10 pages. This summary page, which you can find under National Submit CZO Data, right? There are ways to access data and some description of the CZO data system, but this submit data or share data, we expanded very significantly to talk about essentially these are the 9 different things that we either that we offer as means of sharing data. So there's a little bit of a summary about why this is important, but essentially there's an expectation that CZOs share data with our assistants using these approaches, and there are approaches that you all are, largely already doing, and we might find some things that we can help you with a little bit here and there. But the first one is to list CZO data sets at criticalzone.org, and you're already doing that. If we go over to, access CZO data and go to a new tab, just a second here. And look at Luquillo, we can see that there's a whole pile of web pages here that have been set up. And these web pages were actually built at the request of NSF and the CZO steering committee. This is not something that we dreamed up. It was actually something that was added later on. And these web pages are kind of an easy to browse system that's all in the same web system that we've developed that allows one to, do a Google search and find stuff, but also it links a lot of information to other parts of the CZO website. There are tags for disciplines and field areas, and this is a bad example because it doesn't have an explicit tag to a person, but this is a good example in other ways. And then each of these web pages, or what we call data set listings, points to a specific file, and you can see here at the very bottom of my screen that that's actually a pointer. We don't store the data, it just points to your data system, and that's a specific CSV file, and each of these points to a specific CSV file. So these listings are groupings of data. There are numerous benefits for doing that, and we've kind of developed a system that kills multiple birds with one stone, so to speak, because as soon as that happens, it enables that metadata around your data sets gets slurped into a search portal that we've developed for all CZOs. And I'll pull down a view of that search portal here. Whoops, that didn't actually go in properly. So this is the CZO data search portal, and you can easily do a search for, by CZO, Luquillo, and these are all of your, all of the data sets that you have listed, but this has a much more powerful search capability. You can search, you can do searches that are what they call faceted, that has multiple, that has kind of, and that has multiple criteria for searching in a faceted way. So I could type in something like Sabana also and find, so I can combine free text with these categories and find data right away. And these are the exact same data that are listed in these CZO listings, right? So if I had actually used Bisley instead, we could have found the exact listing. So right there. So this behind this is this ability to do federated searches and basically integrate with much larger data holdings that are all built into these similar catalogs. So that's the main thing. Any file that you have can be listed here, and Miguel's done a good job of doing that. But there are some real benefits by continuing to do that. We have a new file format called Yota files. It's not fully specified yet. Miguel's waiting for us to finalize that specification. As much as possible, share that data as Yota files using these CZO data listings. And if that's done, the kind of application that Miguel built around ODM2 for your local holdings could work for the entire network. And we've already have some examples of that using the CZO display file version 1, but they weren't as capable of integrating things like soils. We built a new controlled vocabulary system, which is built on ODM2. So this is important because these kind of vocabularies, like how to label nitrate, is something that graduate students and others should start doing when they're developing these spreadsheets, and Miguel can help with this vocabulary system. The ODM2 vocabularies, I should say, are kind of the best of the best vocabularies. We basically did a huge effort, I think it's listed here, at combining the vocabularies from Quasi and AIDA and merging the best of the best. So a lot of those vocabularies are there, but there are some instances where it's still useful to go back and use the Quasi vocabularies or the AIDA EarthChem vocabularies.
So what if there's something, I have two questions actually. What if there's something that is currently not archived by EarthChem, for example, cosmogenic nuclides? And then my second question is, I'm a little confused about the Yota file format. Is that something that we have to be aware of and put something in a specific format, or is that just like the format that if we give someone data as a spreadsheet, something happens to put it in the proper Yota format?
We want to create workflows that support all of that. So Miguel's already taken a lot of your data spreadsheets and put them into ODM2. We will create means to export all of those things as Yota files.
Oh, okay.
The benefit of a Yota file is that it's a self-contained archival format that can be assigned a DOI and put in a data repository for basically permanent data storage, long-term permanent data storage.
Okay. What is the,
the second part of that is that we are in the process of trying to create Excel spreadsheets that a graduate student could fill out that would make Miguel's job massively easier, and that basically could be automatically read by the system to produce a Yota file and to be ingested into an ODM2 database. So we're building tools that will take Yota files in and out of ODM2 databases automatically, and so by filling out, let's say, a soil profile template or a cosmogenic template or geochemical template that creates a Yota file, then it would be seamless to basically import it into Miguel's new system. But those templates are not finished yet.
Okay. Could I don't know if it would be Kirsten or Megan. I'm just wondering if I could talk to someone about the cosmogenic nuclide template, because people have been working on one through various other organizations.
Sure.
Some of which was EarthCube sort of facilitated, and so I think there is now a cosmogenic nuclide template that we have working, and so I'd love to talk to someone about that, because there's a lot of data that now everybody agrees should be documented.
That's super. And I know that one of the PIs in EarthChem is Doug Walker,
perfect. Yep.
Who has built the Geocon system, and he had been working with the cosmogenic nuclide community. But I'm not sure at the moment. I would have to check with him if that's actually the template that you're talking about, or if there's a separate effort.
So, so I've been talking to him too. So we're probably on the same page. So there are different kinds of cosmogenic nuclide data, And so I was working on one, and then the other one, I talked to the other people in the CZOs to see what would be really good metrics to document. And so, so I have that file that sort of a lot of the CZOs have sort of signed off on for the other kind of cosmogenic nuclide data.
We would love to see that and work with that and move forward with that. And I think I was going to point out that for each of these main areas, we've got 2 people here approximately that are listed as contacts, but really our team is kind of multi-fingered, and what we're going to be doing very shortly is developing kind of a CZO data help email address that would then go out to all of us, and that we could track and provide direct help on. But Jane, if you could send a link to where that file is located or a copy of that file to our entire team, frankly, that would be quite useful, because there's a number of us who would probably start looking at that and playing with it and thinking of that as a profile.
Okay. Do you have the one from Doug Walker for in situ cosmogenic nuclides?
I'll get it from him.
Oh, okay. Okay. So then I will just send the other one. Yeah, I can do that.
Super.
Yeah, just copy Miguel on that too. Like,
okay.
Yeah. Send it to our whole team, and any, if there's a place where it's being developed or stored online, if it's part of EarthCube, there probably is some Google Drive directory or something. That's helpful, so that we know, so we can contribute, right? We want to both learn from it, but also maybe advance it. Yota files, to be really clear, Yota file has a capacity of handling an enormous range of data, almost anything that can go into ODM2, which was designed to be super flexible. What we're trying to do is create very specific templates for Yota files that use workflows and vocabularies that are a little more commonly accessible, that make more sense to graduate students and investigators. So we're going to have a whole family of Yota file templates eventually. That's our vision. All of them will produce Yota files that are all equally valid and can be ingested by a single Yota file, basically reader or parser.
I mean, I know that, for these cosmogenic nuclides, a lot of effort has gone into that already, so we should clearly be sensitive about that effort and listen to those communities, what they consider their structures and requirements, how far we can map them then into, ODM2 should be, a joint effort, I guess.
Yeah, Doug Walker has really done an amazing job bringing some people together. I think it will never be, it'll never be unanimous.
No, he said it was the cosmogenic nuclide community was the most challenging one of all the different geochronology communities that he worked with. So that says something, I think.
It's really just one guy.
What? What?
It's really just one guy who's got some strong opinions, but.
But obviously an important guy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Yeah. So Doug did the in situ, and you worked on the cosmogenic.
So Doug Walker worked with a number of people to do the in situ cosmogenic nuclides, and so I've been asking people in the CZOs what they think, are things that need to be reported along with, the basic data for meteoric beryllium 10 data, because it's a little bit of a different animal. Maybe you need to know surface area, maybe you need to know whether it was sieved or not, so some of those things.
Do you know if any of the cosmogenic nuclide data has already been loaded into Geochron? Did you check that out?
Not to my knowledge. So I think I asked him over the summer, And he said that he was working on it and he hoped to do it by the fall.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was actually a deliverable on his side for AIDA. So I'll check with him again. And maybe, you know, one thing is for us to have a separate phone call with him, other interested cosmogenic nuclide geochemists to bring everybody sort of in up to the status.
Yeah. Because you don't really use meteoric beryllium-10 for, like, geochronology. I wouldn't say that that's what it's for. So he wasn't too interested in that. But it would be something that EarthChem should be archiving, in my opinion. We always have problems when we write NSF proposals because they say, what national database are you going to put this in? And we're like, I don't know. There's nothing. So...
Let's jump to answer that question. So our last thing here is that kind of once you've taken care of all the steps is to publish your data sets to archival data centers and obtain a DOI. And this is something that I don't think that you've all done a lot of. The main point is that there are, you know, when you publish to EarthChem or, frankly, to HydroShare or the Quasi data center. So here are the specific instructions on that, but there are 3 recommended data repositories that we have worked with closely, and then if you're doing biological work, or in your case, working with an LTER, there are 2 additional ones. All of these can assign, or will soon be able to assign DOIs, and offer a mandate to have persistent data archives. So the main point to make is that AIDA EarthChem, the LTER information network, which you'll probably work with because you're part of the LTER network already, the Knowledge Network for Biocomplexity, HydroShare, which is relatively new, can handle any data file. They can handle any data file at all, but they give you added benefit if you choose one of their preferred data files types. So you could start by submitting your data to them right now, and as you know, but use a template. If there's one that's already being used, use that template. And what we're working on is with AIDA EarthChem and HydroShare, we're building extra features around these Yota files, which we're that we've just been talking about. So there's nothing holding you back from putting things in a data repository.
Okay, that's great. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, it could be a CSV file. The data repository would take care of it, because what you do is that you basically load up that metadata, not unlike this web page that I was just showing you of yours. You know, not unlike something like this. You fill out this kind of metadata. You fill out their metadata forms. It will be very similar. And usually, if you've already got something here on CZO data as a data set listing, it's not doing twice the work to then register it with a CZO with EarthChem. You could take this data, and this is a bad example because this is meteorology, but you could take take your CSV file that you're pointing to here, go to EarthChem and cut and paste a bunch of this stuff. Like almost all of this could be cut and pasted. Maybe the EarthChem web form is going to ask for a few additional items. Kirsten could speak to that. You can cut and paste all of this stuff, you know, keywords and citations, and then you put that file into the EarthChem library, and the very last thing you do is, instead of pointing to your own web server here, you point it to EarthChem, because that's, and then you can get a DOI for it. So, and that DOI we have in the web form behind here. There's a place, actually I can show you that right now because I'm logged in. So, you know, Miguel does this, and Miguel can speak to how relatively easy it is to kind of cut and paste information from one to the next. But in this web form back here, you know, a lot of it is just clicking on stuff, you know, cosmogenic radionuclides. You can just add this stuff really fast. And over here in other fields, you know, there's award and grant numbers, which gets tracked, which can easily track things by NSF. But actually, I think the DOIs, oh yeah, data set DOIs right here. So you, whoops, things are moving a little slow for me. So you type in the data set DOI.
I'm sorry to talk over you. Can we do that right now in AIDA?
Right now.
We can create DOIs the way you're describing.
Yep.
Okay, that might be something that would be a good training exercise or something.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe one thing to follow up on these calls is to run another, like a half hour or even less phone call to show you how to do that. I think with 15 minutes, we're probably covering everything because it's a really easy process.
Yeah. So the whole website for the CZO data listing can have a DOI, or you can have a DOI for the individual files. And once you, so you know, we have the whole system is set up to kind of connect things through DOIs. Jane, you'd mentioned vocabularies not being able to have you know, the right variable names or vocabularies, and one of the things that we've put a humongous amount of energy into is, I mentioned this ODM2 control vocabulary system. It was released in February or something like that at vocabulary.odm2.org. Has, if we go down to, you know, I don't know, something like variable name, it has all these variables. These variables, there are a couple things that are interesting here, is that, first of all, this is built on a system that allows you to, maybe I hit the wrong button, but this is going to be slow to get the whole list. The entire, yeah, I hit this. The entire system allows information to be exchanged in a machine-to-machine way, which means that Miguel can build his web application to basically look into this and get updated information immediately. And neither AIDA or Quasi had a system that was like that, but it's kind of the future of where things are going. If you click on an individual term, there's definitions and provenance, so that you can make sure that you know what term is there. But notice there's one other thing here that's really useful. There's an edit button, so you can go in here and suggest that maybe something is wrong, or if you go way out to the full list, you can suggest a totally new term. And this community interaction for vocabularies that are built in a SCOS that allow machine-to-machine information exchange, where the term, by the way, the SCOS term, so if I click on here, look at how this URL up here, that URL is a permanent identifier for all the information. A machine can read that URL and get any of this information, the category, the provenance. This one isn't super rich. It can get all that information in an automated way. The units are a little bit more, you know, I don't know. Units are a little bit more filled out. So there's all this information that comes with that, and it can be done in a machine-to-machine way. So the point is that we've built an amazing vocabulary system that can accept your suggestions. And as soon as it's suggested and accepted, all the software that's connected to it will automatically be updated, or has that potential to be automatically updated. I don't know if that helps you out, Jane.
Yeah, it does. Yep, I didn't realize you could do that.
Yeah, it's pretty new since February.
Okay.
Anthony, this is Jeff. I apologize. I got to step out in just a couple minutes to head to a faculty meeting. So
okay.
Just if you ask a question and you get silence, that's why.
Got it. Yeah, I think we spent a little more time on this little overview than I'd expected, but this has been a really good discussion. I'd like to talk about IGSNs for sites and specimens. That's something that you've already done, and I'd like to congratulate you on it, but I want the investigators to know about it. But before, Jeff, do you have a couple minutes?
Yeah, I need to. I got to make it up to campus by 11:30, so I need to leave in about 2 minutes, or I'm going to be late. Which is not the end of the world, but if you've got questions, let me know.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, why don't you jump out? I think Miguel knows how to get a hold of you, but I wanted to just point out that there are 2 optional approaches that the CZO data team is supporting. One is for you to use an ODM2 database locally. We developed ODM2 as kind of the framework for all these other things, the controlled vocabularies, the Yota exchange files, how to manage hierarchical sites and specimens, a bunch of other things we developed ODM2 for. We're not asking individual CZOs to implement their data system in ODM2. You are doing so. It's an opportunity, and your team has already done that. So there's enough said about that. You've already jumped on that. That's totally optional, and that's awesome, because it's going to make these other things easier for you down the road. But the thing that's relevant to Jeff is, and all of you right now, is this live data stream. And this is another optional thing that we will help you out in. Because you're building your data system in ODM2, that's awesome, because we're presently working, this isn't fully completed yet, but we're working on, there are a bunch of different options on how to stream live data, and the benefits are really large. I think you probably know some of them. It's described here, but of the various options, one of them is to use some software that we're developing right now, an ODM2 streaming data loader that Jeff's team is using, and we're right now in the process of building Water One Flow streaming web services from an ODM2 instance for that automated exchange of information. We're on the path to making that happen, and we're very interested in working with your team on doing that. That's within our scope.
Yeah, we'd like to, you know, we have the one site we were talking about that where we'd like to get that, you know, your real-time data going into the database. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. One of the benefits of the real-time data, well, you probably know your own benefits, right? It's useful for maintenance of systems and knowing when sensors need maintenance and things like that. If you have streaming data into your own system, especially a system that's built around web services, you can visualize it, right? We have this kind of prototype to show what's possible when you have live web services. Actually, this works with all web service data, and it's designed around time series. But we could, for example, you know, here's a plot of your data that we've ingested through these data systems. With a live feed, this could be updated as of, you know, an hour or 2 ago, and it could be really useful for you. And I guess I picked the wrong variable here, battery voltage, but I think you get the point of what we might be able to provide. It sounds like Jeff just stepped out. So the last thing about that we're doing that I wanted to mention is IGSNs for sites and specimens. I think this is really important for a lot of you who are on the call, Michelle, Ashley, in addition to Bill, Alan, and Jane. There is a whole system developed for international geosample numbers, which is really expanding its scope. It was developed by the IEDA team. Kirsten and Megan is working on that right now. And we have developed a specific set of guidelines and tools just for CZOs. There's been a lot of work around getting CZOs to do this. But our recommendations are, and I don't think this has really gotten out, is that one of the first things you might want to do is register your sampling sites, weather stations, stream gauges, soil pits, with IGSNs. The actual sampling site itself can have an international geosample number associated with it. And that then is really useful for aggregating all the information that comes out of that site. Once you have that sampling site, you can use that IGSN, this globally unique number, in your own workflow. IGSNs, I think I might have pulled up some examples. Actually, this is your example right here, right? So this is a great example that you all have put together. So this is an IGSN. It comes with its own barcode. It has, with this number, you throw it into an application that then can fetch all of this information, including the barcode, about that site. And this is what's really beautiful, is that it can fetch the parent, where did it come from? That subsample came from a core, and in this case, it can find all of its children. I think we were on one of these children, and all of the siblings. And so it's a hierarchical system that can actually group things together, and one can build some really sophisticated high-level data analysis around understanding this hierarchy of sites and specimens. So I know that you've done that for specimens, but we want to encourage you to do that for sites also, and put it in the workflow so that the labels get the tags on them maybe before they even go out into the field, as you can see here, or very shortly after things are being collected. Any questions about that? All right. There's a big benefit to that that maybe Kirsten can describe, but the IGSNs are kind of like DOIs. They're being adopted by publishers such as Elsevier as means to link information so that you can do searches of the scientific literature by IGSN.
Yeah, I should perhaps add to this, because this is actually an area where a lot is happening at the moment. And just this morning, very early, we had a phone call with representatives from DataCite, which is the effort to basically provide DOIs for data sets that has established the right metadata for data sets as compared to publications, and is handling those, as well as representatives from ORCID, which you may know are unique identifiers for investigators. Many of the journals are now requiring ORCID when you submit manuscripts. And we're basically in the process now of linking between data, DOIs from DataCite, ORCID, and IGSN, so that, for example, in the future it will be possible to show on your ORCID profile the samples that you have collected, and that, as Anthony said already, you can search across data sets or across publications based on a DOI and find data for that particular site or sample or whatever the IGSN was identifying. So it's a rapidly growing system of services that the IGSN provides.
I'll point out one other service, and that is that there are web services around IGSNs. And so, for example, this visualization portal, part of what it was being built to do was kind of explore how web services can display things. So Emilio and the Applied Physics Lab basically developed this means of looking at the web services that are revealed by the IGSNs to display all the information about where things have been collected within your CZO. So this ability to link and do searches really can be extended to all sorts of software. So there's a humongous benefit by registering sampling sites and specimens with IGSNs, and then using them. And when you publish, like the data table in a publication should have the IGSNs associated with them, or the sites. The site listing should have the IGSNs of those sites.
I think we do have sites as well as samples in here. So there's like parent sites where the samples were taken that should already be in IDA.
Okay. So
Alon, you could probably maybe able to say something about that too, but yeah.
Yeah, it may be that there's just a little metadata tagging thing, and that's something that we noticed. You guys have done a pretty decent job of providing a reasonable amount of metadata, but you can see here, yeah, Lam might know exactly what that means. But you can see here that there's a lot of information that's not provided that could be useful to other people who are exploring this, especially if you start using these IGSNs in the literature.
Yes.
So it may be possible to work with Megan, for example, to update. There may be some easy way where they could export everything as a CSV or an Excel spreadsheet. You could fill in the blanks and send it back to them, and they could, do a batch update of the data, of all this metadata. I don't know. My guess is that that could be possible to try to get a bit more information in here. Is this actually the designation for a soil pit, or is it actually the individual core that came out of the soil pit?
So Alon had to go to a class, so
okay.
I don't know if you're waiting for something from him, but
okay. So there's no parent, and so this particular specimen is not associated with the site.
So this is actually this was one of Sue Brantley's graduate students who did this work. This wasn't the work I was thinking of that was done with Alon.
Oh, I see. Okay, got it. So, well, then in that case, I picked the wrong example.
It's a downhole drilling. It's a chunk of rock from.
Oh yeah, that's LGW. Yeah.
So yeah, there may be better examples. I don't know if Emilio's on the call. He spent a little time looking at your holdings here. Yeah, and it looks like that one might not even be listed in the visualization system.
There is a specific issue with the PO when that during the transition, excuse me, early this year to CZO's new, more consistent approach for handling CZO GSN. What ended up happening is that there are now essentially two codes for data from Luquillo. And when I ingested this data was before that transition was completed. So there is a subset of Luquillo CZO data that are not IGSNs that are not here yet, but that are probably all the ones that Miguel was referring to, the newer ones with the new code. So that's in the works.
Can I jump in for a second? Anthony, if you scroll down on that profile, no, you were...
Oh, I'm sorry, and the one I was just at?
Yeah, so ultimately we hope to have a service where, you can get all
Megan,
the data points.
your phone connection is really bad right now.
Is that me or is that Emilio? So if you scroll up, there should be a field called Field Program.
Yep.
Yeah, so you see how it's set to Luquillo CZO. We want that exact thing entered for all of the Luquillo samples, and eventually we hope to have a service where Emilio can grab all of those samples based on that field program, not based on the user code.
Perfect. Got it. That's right. And I was playing around with the service that makes that really easy to do.
It's actually, this just reminds me of a discussion that we have had here yesterday. One of the projects that's executed here in the geoinformatics group at Lamont is the Rolling Deck to Repository, which is basically a joint effort of all the ship operators of the academic fleet to have a common metadata catalog and transfer data to repositories. But the important thing is they just implemented DOIs for cruises. So a cruise metadata set has a DOI that then you can use in publications and so on, and it resolves to the metadata about that cruise. And we were talking about larger sampling campaigns on land, potentially using DOIs for registered, for sort of formal metadata records about these programs. So that's something I think we should be thinking about for the critical observatories in the future, that specific projects are, sampling campaigns can be identified that way. I'm not sure if it's as well applicable as to a cruise, which is obviously a very well prepared and structured event, but it's something that we should be considering, because then it becomes quite easy to reference samples unambiguously to a specific sampling campaign.
Mm-hmm. I think that would be very useful for terrestrial critical zone samples. It's something that we discussed ages ago in our ODM2 discussions. A cruise is has some properties that are slightly different than a terrestrial-based campaign, but a lot of similarities. Okay. I think we're done with this overview and discussion about kind of the guidelines and instructions. Maybe I'll just mention that geospatial data such as shape files can also be shared as a data set listing, and there's the potential for us to do to build enhanced capabilities around those. We don't really have that funding right now, but it's possible with the whole GeoPortal system that we've built. So, if you would list shape files, if you'd put shape files down in here, we would have the ability potentially down the road to do something interesting with them. But this can handle any kind of file format, and if it's a display file or a Yota file, we can do we have funding to do something special with it. If it's a shape file or a KML, we have the potential down the road to do something with that relatively easily, but not current funding. And then LiDAR data, you've already shared your LiDAR data via open topography. It should be pointed out that, wrong search here, CZOData search, that if I clear all of these, it should be pointed out that because Open Topography's catalog is also a GeoPortal catalog, we have the ability to basically do this kind of combined search between the LiDAR catalog and the CZO catalog. So you can just kind of see some of the capabilities that we're beginning to build with the search portal. But essentially all of our LiDAR should be stored with Open Topography. We've got a special agreement with them. I think that's it for that part of the conversation. We're ready to move on to the last part, I think. Any questions, Bill or Jane or Miguel, about what our role is, what we see our role is in the next 6 months in helping you all implement?
Not for me.
All right. Bill, if you're talking, you're muted.
No, you asked did I have any questions.
All right, perfect. All right, I just wasn't sure. It's easy to...
I'm going to have to leave in about 5 minutes. I've got another appointment.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, I think we're wrapping things up reasonably well. So in terms of to-dos, I'll try to send up a follow-up email, but it sounds like it'd be useful for us to help our team to help Miguel out in terms of, and the rest of you out in terms of getting DOIs assigned to archived data at EarthChem or elsewhere. We'll try to do a cyber seminar along those lines. It sounds like we could potentially help filling out a little bit more metadata around IGSNs and making sure sites are built into the hierarchy, such as soil pits, et cetera. And there are new vocabularies that are available, Miguel, by the way, for specimen type and also media that are built on ODM2 vocabulary, so that might make this tagging easier. And then we've talked about the ODM2 partnerships. What would you like to see us do outside of this helping you out in the next few months that I just described, and I'll summarize in an email? What would you like to see us what do you see as the future of the CZO data project after March? Those are conversations we need to begin starting to have with NSF and also with the PIs.
Well, I'll take a stab at that, then I'll have to go, Anthony. I mean, at this point, we've asked NSF, so what is the future of sort of large-scale, across-site data management? And we don't get an answer.
Yeah, so I haven't gotten an answer either.
Our answer just depends a whole lot on their answer. I mean, we don't want to plan on building something that isn't that we won't have the resources to build. And so our strategy within the Luquillo CZO will be to build these tools and these categories of, data management, data sets and approaches, and there's some good tips and enhancements that you've given us in this call. And, of course, our strategy is try to make it as sustainable long-term on our own until we know what else will be out there. So I think the whole idea of being able to cross sites and answer simple, quote, simple queries of, comparing a site that has, let's say, stream chemistry at monthly versus a site that has weekly versus a site that has sensor data, building abilities to sort of merge all those time scales and different timestamps in some meaningful way for comparative analysis is hard, but would be really useful. And I'm sure there are other examples beyond stream chemistry. So I don't know what the future will hold, obviously, for any of these initiatives. We sort of are, we're going to keep our ears to the ground and see what we hear, and then until we know what's likely to happen or what the opportunities might be, we're just going to do what we know will be valuable for the project longer term that we can do since, with the resources that we have for the next couple years. And of course, then, who knows where the CZOs will go after that. I mean, the NSF isn't really telling us that either. So.
Right. Thank you for that perspective. So if there is anything, Bill, that seems that would be interesting, you give us the ideas and support it, and we can make the sales pitch to NSF.
Yep. Okay. Well, thanks. We'll keep that in mind for sure.
All right. Anybody have any last comment for Bill before he gets off the phone? And then we probably can continue for another 10 minutes or so if Miguel and others have questions or we have other things to discuss. All right. Thanks, Bill, for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Anthony. It was informative. It was good. I enjoyed hearing the different perspectives.
Super. So I guess we've kind of bopped around in these kind of feedback and questions between our different teams. Are there anything that we missed? Anything that anybody has thought of about how to move forward, either within the present scope or with the future scope, to help the Luquillo team out, or for the Luquillo team to actually share with others, or just looking for any other comments that we might have missed? All right, it's quite quiet.
Sorry, we're trying to grab the last 10 minutes that the cafeteria is open.
No worries, I see.
Food, yep. Megan is going upstairs.
Yep, that happens to me on these lunchtime calls, that I don't get to eat until after the call's over. All right. Well, I think we've got a reasonable idea. Miguel, I mean, do you have any other thoughts? Have we covered everything?
Yeah, I mean, just to go off a little bit about from what Bill said, for like future directions, like you know, having some sort of central search where you could search for data that have been submitted by Yota files, and you can pull stream chemistry or meteorology data from different CZOs via, you know, from a HydroShare central server or something. You know, that would be really cool to have someday.
Mm-hmm.
Hi,
yeah.
This is Emilio, and I just realized that I was muted on WebEx. I just, one very concrete follow-up that I wanted to mention is that I'm excited that Miguel insists in PostGIS. So I'd be interested, and I would plan to follow up with Miguel directly on thinking through or experimenting with other feature types beyond points with PostGIS in the context of ODM2, of course, and maybe a few other issues.
Sure, yeah, that's definitely something I want to investigate.
Yep.
Sorry about muting you, Emilio.
Yeah.
I muted you a while back when there was feedback when Megan was talking.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, it sounds like Miguel will be working with you quite a bit. As a heads up, we have some ideas for a series of additional working groups. You participated in a couple of the ones for ODM2 and then the CZOData IMC, but we want to have a second Yota file working group sometime soon, and probably talk about web service implementations and other things, and maybe even there's a pile of ideas that we're beginning to generate that we're going to float in front of you all, but we would love to get some additional input from people like you who you know, are interested in rolling up sleeves and contributing ideas and effort.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good.
We're also planning on having a bunch of training WebExes and maybe even a workshop somewhere along the line. All right. Well, let's wrap this up then. Thank you all, and very much appreciate your time.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Great work.
Yeah.